Welcome, everybody. Today's guest is Jennifer Sneeden, who is a consultant for psychotherapists and she helps psychotherapists build six-figure practices. Jennifer, how you doing today?
I'm fantastic, Brian. I'm so excited to be here. I love what you are creating with this podcast, and to be a guest on it is just so fun. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for saying that. I appreciate your time as well. And so just real quick, your website is thrivingtherapypractice.com. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So we'll obviously mention that a little bit later in the interview, but I want to just hear a little bit about, and I want you to share a little bit more to the audience about, how you got into this work of consulting. I think it's a pretty intriguing story. So I think the listeners will get a lot out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to do that. I went to graduate school a long time ago for psychology and got recruited out of graduate school by a big name consulting company. And it was just so much fun. I've traveled and worked all over the world and done all sorts of cool stuff. And then I reached the point where I was like, okay, enough travel. I want to settle down. I want to have a home. I want to have kids. And so I decided it was time to actually go into private practice. And, I had all of this great experience doing consulting work. So how hard could private practice be, right? And little did I know what I was getting myself into. I was one of those that very naively about this beautiful leather couch. I got some business cards. I agonized over my logo. And then, I handed out like 4 business cards and just waited, because I just knew that clients were going to be calling me. And of course, I learned the hard way that just does not happen. And so I struggled a lot for almost 3 years. And when my son was born, it was like, Jennifer, you got to get it together because you've either got to be able to do this or not. And I fully, for about 18 months, I invested a ton of energy, time, money into learning how to market, because I think like so many of us, it's like this dirty little secret. Oh, surprise, you're in business now. You've got to actually be able to market.
Mm-hmm.
And once I figured it out, I realized that so many of my friends and colleagues were also out there saying, well, gosh, how do I get clients? How do I get clients? How do I get clients? So in 2009, I launched Thriving Therapy Practice, and I am loving it because it brings together what I always intended to do, which is work in the psychotherapy field and my consulting experience. So it's like really the best of both worlds. And I just absolutely love it.
Thanks for sharing that. That's a great story. So many threads I can pull out of that, what you just shared. So are you doing private practice as well, or are you just focused on the consulting now for your business?
Yeah, I'm just doing the training and the marketing stuff. I closed my private practice in 2014 because I realized, and maybe some of your listeners will be able to relate to this, I realized that I would do a little bit here until it got big and scary. And then I would jump over and do a little bit in the other business until it got big and scary. And I was allowing myself to play small by keeping both businesses running. And at that point in time, I had 2 little kids, and I have to be here Wednesday at 9 and Thursday at 10, like a set schedule wasn't working so well. So I closed my practice. It was a very difficult decision, but for the past 2 years, it has been absolutely fantastic because now I get to spend all day, every day, helping therapists figure it out. I have the time to learn what's working and to test different things. So I have lots of fun with it.
Yeah, I can imagine the difficulty of doing that, but it sounds like that was just something you need to do to focus and really just focus on
Yes.
one project and put all your heart and your soul into that one thing. And I don't know about you, but I tend to also get shiny object syndrome where you see the next best thing and you want to grasp it or go after. And I'm
Yes.
sure the psychotherapists listening out there feel the same way. There might be a project here, but so focus, it sounds like, has really been the game changer for you in the past couple years. Few years.
Focus, and I would even say I didn't give myself an option. There was no private practice to go back to. So this either had to succeed or not. And that it was a statement to the universe that I am just going to do this. And it's been phenomenal what's been going on the last few years.
Got it. And so such an interesting career arc as well. So going into consulting, learning if it's a top firm, you're learning the business side of things, and then transitioning into psychotherapy and a private practice. So just curious, and I'm sure listeners might be curious as well. What was the, I know that you had your son at the time, but was there anything else that was really wanting you to get into the business of having a private practice and becoming a psychotherapist?
Okay, so this is a little touchy-feely from a marketing person, okay? But I believe that as psychotherapists, we all have clients that we are truly put on this planet to serve. And I believe that there are clients out there who desperately need us. And it breaks my heart that those two groups can never find each other. Like there's all these therapists who want to serve and want to help clients. And there's all these clients that need that person, and yet somehow they're not connecting. And my specialty was marriage counseling. Boca Marriage Counseling was the clinic that I ran. And I feel like there are a thousand fantastic top-notch marriage counselors out there, but there are not a lot of people that can help people get clients, which is why the work you're doing is so important. And I think this whole field has emerged over the past 10 years because there is truly a need for psychotherapists to acknowledge that business and that marketing side of things.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. And we love touchy-feely on this show. I mean, it's about marketing and the business development side and strategy, but also about the inner blocks and the emotion, because I know a lot of, therapists that get into the business, I mean, they get in because they want to connect, they want to help people, and the missing gap is the business side of things and the marketing. And it's interesting because it was interesting because you were a consultant, and you would think that would transfer over into owning your own small business or your own business. So, and you're figuring things out. So talk to us a little bit about the Jennifer back when you just launched your private practice and you were struggling, and what that process was like.
To?
Just a little bit, just so we know just a little bit of your struggle. You don't have to go too into it.
Yeah, it was a huge it was kind of a huge slap in the face because I came from running $5 and $8 million projects, massive organizational redesign projects. And now I can't get a client to pay me $125. Like, oh my gosh, what the heck is going on there? And I truly was so naive that I didn't even realize that I had to market. And it took me probably 6 or 8 months to just fully accept, okay, I have to go out and find clients. They're not going to stumble across me. And then once I came to that realization, I had no idea what to do. And I will often ask my clients now, if I gave you 10 free hours a week, just magical, they appear, would you know what to do with them? And most of the times people who are struggling say no, they wouldn't. Like they have no idea what marketing activities that they're supposed to be doing. And so once I came to the acknowledgement that I had to be marketing, I had to learn what the marketing activities were. And, this was 2004, where online marketing wasn't even really a thing yet for psychotherapists. And so I was doing a lot of the very traditional going to Chamber of Commerce meetings and doctors' offices and dropping off business cards and calling attorneys for lunch. And none of that was working. So what I realized is I was trying a bunch of stuff. I was doing more stuff. And I was digging the hole deeper and deeper because none of it was working. And I kept trying harder, doing the wrong things. And I started to feel like, man, what is wrong with me? I had this dream of what my life was going to be like. And it's so far from where we are now. What is wrong with me? And I had to get myself from the space of I'm going to do this because I've got this little baby. I'm not going back on the road. Don't try to send me back to Singapore or somewhere because that's just not going to happen. And it was from that moment of I need to make this work that I fully immersed myself in doing the things that I had to do.
Thanks for sharing that. So it was a mindset shift at the time. You were doing a bunch of things. And I think that many people listening can relate to that feeling of trying a whole bunch of different things, then not working, and then you lose that confidence in yourself and in your mission and what you really want to bring to the world. So that cycle is just, it's a difficult cycle. And so anyone listening out there, I know that you're maybe feeling that pain, maybe you're in it right now, but there is hope. I mean, Jennifer is a living example. Probably some of her clients are a living example. And I know there's therapists out there that have that mindset shift that, yes, must make this work. It starts there, right? And then it's about what are the tangible strategies. So talking, shifting gears a little bit into some of those strategies. So, you were doing a bunch of business card handing out, connecting, Chamber of Commerce. What were some of the strategies that actually did work for you and some of the strategies that you share with your clients now?
Okay, so now, and this is probably in large part because of my personality, I am not one who can go work a room at a Chamber of Commerce networking meeting, right? I sat in the parking lot of more meetings than I actually went into. So I realized that that type of marketing was just never going to suit me. And when I what do I want to say? Discovered, I guess, when I discovered how to market myself online, that's when things really started opening up for me. So most of what I teach my clients now is all about online marketing.
Nice.
And I think that it's a very different way to serve clients. And I think a lot of those, let's call them traditional practice building approaches, never worked. But we as professionals didn't know what else to do. So we were doing more of the things that didn't work. And, I will always say Facebook is the greatest gift ever invented for the field of psychotherapy, because we now have the ability to reach clients who are interested in what we have to offer, who are eager for somebody that provides our services, and to do it for pennies per person. And, like it's just so shifted the way we market. But I think the other significant shift, which I do not take credit for, is as a profession, we have reoriented toward marketing. When I started training therapists, and it was live workshops in 2009 when I first started, I had to do a lot of work about overcoming the stigma for marketing. I remember one of my early clients told me, when I market, I feel like I'm a prostitute. And I thought, wow, like we can't have this, because energetically nothing's going to work when you feel like you're selling yourself.
Sure.
But that I don't get that. I don't know if you feel that shift has happened as well, but I don't get that anymore. I get that people understand we're in business, we got to market. And so that big hurdle is overcome. And now it's all about, okay, what do you actually do? What are the
Yeah.
techniques and the strategies that work?
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you mentioned Facebook, and it's a great resource. I mean, you have to go where the
Yes,
customers and consumers are going, and that's marketing
absolutely.
101, right? So where are people going
Yeah.
attention? They're not going to find you on a TV commercial,
Yes.
Networking is almost like it's like a just passing out credit cards, passing out business cards and seeing what sticks.
Hey, I'm going to go to networking events with you, Brian. I like the way you
Yeah, yeah.
network.
But passing out business cards and seeing what sticks. And so, where are the
Yeah.
consumers hanging out? And they are hanging out on Facebook, and more than most people like to admit. But people are scrolling through their news feeds, and they're looking at what's out there as well. And then
Yep.
also, yeah, the big hurdles overcome where, and I'm sure some still feel where they hear the word marketing, they kind of cringe a
Yeah.
little bit. There's this, but it's a smaller population now, and so I think I love what going back to the mindset shift of, hey, I'm going to now focus my efforts as I'm going to make this work, and then now what do I need to do? Online marketing is, yeah, I'm a big proponent of online marketing as well, so
Yeah.
definitely can relate to
And I really encourage therapists, and this probably comes from my own experience of being such a bad networker, of feeling like I never want to have to sell myself.
that.
So I always encourage my clients to do what I call value first marketing. And I'm sure you're familiar with this. Like, I'm never going to approach a client to say, hey, call me for therapy. I'm a great therapist. I'm always going to approach a client with, how can I solve a problem for you? I think it's Ryan Dice. I'm not sure, but I think it's Ryan Dice that says the best way to prove to a client that you can solve a problem is by solving a problem. And I think that has to be the underpinning of everything that we do as psychotherapists. We have to maintain the highest ethical standards. And I don't think it should ever be about, call me for therapy, I'm a great therapist. I think our marketing always has to come from a place of service, like, okay, so how can I solve this problem for you? And then you say, wow, yes, I needed that. Where have you been all my life?
Mm.
And now we enter into a relationship where you feel, okay, this is somebody I want to work with in therapy. And I am very I feel kind of like it's my mission to get psychotherapists reoriented about how they market. You can't market from a place of, I'm a great therapist, call me, because you hate that, and your clients hate it. But you have to market from a place of showing them your expertise, that authority positioning, and then they will naturally and logically follow that through to want to continue working with you.
That's where the world is going now. It's all about,
Yes,
value first, and then, they get credibility, the know, like, and trust model, right? That's
right.
pretty people talk about that all the time, but it's all about giving a little bit. And then, it's not just to get, right? It's just to offer the value, educate. Social media marketing is all about that, right? You give the value, and then they start to realize that you're a trusted authority in that certain space. And so, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I cannot agree with you more. So that's great stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of, let's talk about a little bit of the mindset shifts and the things that you're doing and things that your clients doing to make that shift into becoming business oriented, understanding you're an entrepreneur, understanding you're a small business owner. What are maybe some things that someone out there that has not quite made that shift yet? What are some things that they can do to make a little bit of that shift into that?
So the very first thing that I suggest is to treat your business like a business. When I'm considering taking on a new client to work with as a private coaching client, the very first question I ask is, how much money have you earned so far this year, and how much money did you make last year? And instantly I can tell who's serious about their work and who isn't, because the answer either is something like, well, so far I've made $42,762, but I've got, so much more the rest of the month. Or the answer is something like, I don't know, like, I think I'm seeing around 9 clients a week, but I'm really not sure. And I don't know how to explain this, but you can't be in that second category and be successful. You have to be like, I am a business person and I'm running this like a business. And that is step 1. And then step 2 is really saying, okay, I've invested an ungodly amount of money in my clinical education, an ungodly amount of hours in my clinical education. And on my business education, they've listened to your podcast, they bought maybe one of my books, and that's it. And so there's like this huge disparity of what we invest in our clinical skills and what we invest in our business skills. And no other business thinks that they can get by without knowing how to market. And that's the piece that needs to change. And then once you make that decision, you will see there's a lot of resources out there to guide you.
Absolutely. Those are great tips. And absolutely, it's the difference between a cost and an investment. That's something that I always
Yes.
tell
Oh my
clients
gosh,
as
yes.
well, because you have to make smart decisions, but you do have to invest in things to be able to get return, whether that's Facebook
Right.
ads, whether that's some sort of other marketing channel, whether that's investing in yourself, working on programs, things like that. So people always say, oh, but Brian, you're a consultant and a coach. Of course you're going to say that, but I'm sure, Jennifer, but it works. I mean, you see people that make
Yes.
that shift. There's an energetic shift too, because when you
Right.
invest in something, you take that faith, and as long as there's value in that, you will see a shift in your own being and just investing in yourself. And then now you'll be able to work with your clients around money. That's just what I see in terms of just an energetic shift happening after people investing and having some skin in the game as well.
No doubt about it. And making the decision that they're going to figure this out and they're going to be successful. That's hugely important. And when people when they okay, hold on, my brain's getting tangled up. Okay, so oftentimes people come to me thinking that they've got a mindset problem, and actually it's like a skills and strategy problem. Because if you don't know, we'll talk about Facebook, since I'm such a huge Facebook person. If you don't know how to use Facebook, you're gonna feel like a disaster. And it's not really a confidence problem, it's you haven't properly equipped yourself. So we often, and I think as therapists, we do that more than others. We often assign things to it's a mindset or a confidence problem, when in fact you just haven't developed the skills that you need. And as you develop the skills, then the confidence comes. The first time my gym does these handstand push-ups, right? Where you go into a handstand and then you attempt to do a push-up. So the first time I tried to do it, I had zero confidence because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. But then after about 14 times, okay, now I feel a little bit of confidence because I've tried it and practiced it and practiced it. So don't expect that the confidence will come if you haven't equipped yourself for that.
Got it. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so it could be perceived as a mindset thing, but it's not. It's something that is an actual strategy. And I love going a little bit backwards, talking about knowing your numbers, knowing your business numbers. And I'm also a big proponent. I'm a numbers guy as well. So tracking the conversions, like, hey, how many people actually call me for a 30-minute consultation? And then from there, how many people, like, where is the disconnect there? So I love what you said earlier about also connecting the dots in terms of the numbers and knowing your numbers and being, not being afraid to share those numbers and to know those numbers and really know your business in that sense.
Yeah, that's huge. One of the things that I work on with my client are what I call 5 points of failure. And if you come to me and you're saying, I'm not getting client calls, that's an outcome, right? You don't really have very much control over that. You've got to track it all the way back in your marketing system and say, well, am I getting in touch with enough potential clients, or am I in obscurity? Nobody knows who I am. Do I have the right message? Like, you've got to track through all these pieces, because those are the only parts that you can control. You can control how many people visit your website. You can control how many people click on a link. You can control all of those pieces, and they all feed into getting clients. And that's the part that as you said, you've got to be tracking every step of the way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something so before I was doing this, I was doing 10 years in sales. And so we talked about the difference between lead measures and lag measures. So lead measures are the things that you can, there's two parts, the things that you can control and things you can't. So for instance, if somebody wants to get healthier and lose weight, you want to say like, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds. You can't control that. But what you can do is you can exercise for 30 minutes every morning. And that is that, in terms of that lead measure, those are the lead measures, are the ones, those activities and the things that you can do in order to potentially reach the lag measure of, losing 30 pounds or 40 pounds. Yeah.
I love that. I'm totally going to steal that, because that's exactly right. And why focus on losing the 30 pounds? Yeah. Focus on the things that are within your control to do.
Absolutely. So I like to call this portion of the podcast interview and YouTube interview, wherever you are enjoying the show, the lightning round. And so we are at this lightning round. So I'm asking you just a few questions here, Jennifer. So I didn't prep Jennifer for this, so she's totally just, going to speak from her wisdom.
Oh, good luck to us.
Yeah. So what is your favorite business book? Non-psychotherapy, but business book.
Oh, I'm a huge reader. So I've always got like about 7 books going at a time. The one that I go back to over and over again is called 80-20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. And Brian, if you have not read this, if you're a numbers guy, you would love it.
Okay,
he talks about how you break down your business into what really matters and what doesn't. So I love it.
Okay, awesome. For a psychotherapist, should a psychotherapist specialize or be a generalist?
Specialize. Mm-hmm. So, wait, hold on. Can I expand on that?
Of course, absolutely.
The median income for psychotherapists in private practice, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, is $39,772. If that's what you want to make, you should generalize. If you want to make a number higher than that, you should specialize.
Oh, you're speaking my language with those numbers.
I bet you'd like that.
Yeah. Your favorite piece, I guess, what you recommend for your clients in terms of your favorite piece of technology. You may have mentioned this already, but favorite piece of technology.
Facebook ads. Just go live on Facebook ads and you will have a full practice, as long as you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Awesome. So, that's pretty much the lightning round. Just a few questions there. So you have survived it.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you sharing that. So Jennifer, where can the listeners connect with you? Do you have any resources available for people listening out there?
Yeah, I actually put together a little checklist that I think your listeners might like. I call this my 6-figure practice checklist. And if you are one who is not yet in the 6-figure range and you don't know exactly why you're not, and you don't know exactly how to get there, you're going to want this checklist. It's at thrivingtherapypractice.com/checklist. And it's this really easy self-assessment. I've got 20 elements that when I work with a highly successful practice, they've got them all or most of them in place. And so you're going to be able to see what are the pieces that are missing. So I think when you're like stuck and baffled as to why you're stuck, this checklist is going to be perfect. So it's thrivingtherapypractice.com/checklist.
So go check that out. Get the checklist. Jennifer, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and knowledge. We truly appreciate you coming on to the show and sharing that with us.
Thank you. I love what you're doing. This was an honor.